But we discussed in the last 4 days exactly what is the greatness of Moses and the Jewish people, and how it is that Moses was able to bring out the potential in the Jewish people to be servants of God. And that's what it means, an Eved Ivri. And how Moshe, he said he was koneh, that he, so to speak, just enabled the Jews to take possession of the essence of their soul, to draw it from the concealed to be revealed. And we said that this whole work is done with 6 years. In the 7th year, you go free. This represents the 6,000 years of this world. And all the time of this world, we're doing work and serving God. And all the time we're serving God, we're, so to speak, we're making God real. We're revealing the Creator's true pleasure, which that's why the Creator wanted to create the world. So the world is so to speak, is real reality. True reality is the world. And before God created the world, there was no time, there was no space. There was no time, there was no space. God got no pleasure, so to speak. God was not a king. God was not kind. He wasn't the father. Where the Jewish people are his sons. He wasn't the master. The Jewish people are his servants. And when he created the world, then that's when true, actual reality really began. But it takes, the Jewish people are the ones that have to activate it. They have to do it. And Moses has to activate the Jewish people. So here's a little bit about Moses. Here's a little bit. This is sort of a summary. This is an explanation we had of what we had before, but here's an explanation. 1 second. All right. V'hine, behold. V'hine, behold, Moses, Moshe, haya mishmit rishona. If you remember, we learned about this earlier. I think it was in Parshas Va'era. And it talks about who Moshe was and why his name was Moshe. Where do you get the name Moshe? And it says because he was drawn out of the water. He was pulled out of the water. And the Rebbe explains that this is not just a physical thing, which it was a physical thing. I mean, he actually was thrown into the water. But even more, he was pulled out of what's called the first era, the first eon, something like that. And this means it was pulled out from a different level of reality, from the world of Tohu, which that's like pure kindness. That's what water is. If you remember, and Moses was a totally different soul from everybody else. Even higher than any of the other souls that had been before, except for Adam, but we see that Adam didn't last very long. So the souls. So Moses came from a different. He came what's called the Shemitah Rishona. He came from the Shemitah Rishona, and there it explains there's some Kabbalistic books that say that there were worlds before our worlds, but that's not what it means. According to the Arizal, and the way it's accepted now, the Ramban and others, and then what it means is there was just a different order of the 10 Sfirot before God rearranged them and created this world. Anyway, Moses, he came from this first arrangement. That was called the first Shemitah, the world of Tohu. Minamayim, from the water, this level of water, of God's pure kindness and love, Miashmita Rishona, from this first arrangement of God's 10 Sfirot. And it's not that it lasted 1,000 years or whatever. In fact, there was no time. This is above time. So Moses came from this level of reality, which is really above time and above space. That's what Moses said. Who are we? Ma means total surrender and harmony with God. That's what Ma means, according to Kabbalah. Total surrender and harmony with God. Ki talinu, that's what Moses said. Ma anachnu ma ki talinu aleinu. Who are we that you are complaining to us? When the Jewish people were complaining about the various things about the water and about this. So Moses said, we are Ma. Ma also means we're nothing. That we, in other words, we're speaking to Moses and Aaron, but essentially he meant himself. The Jewish people have no connection to Moses and Aaron. They're a completely different level, but especially Moses. But Minamayim, Ena Marumas, Rak, Mishitiu. This that says that Moses was taken from this water, he was taken from a whole different order of creation than which precedes in holiness and level, totally different than this world. And that's where he was drawn from. The Targumin and the translation is Sheltolte, that they drew him down. He was picked up. Lashon Hamshacha, Shenimshach Me'ahelem Tevet Gomer, that he was drawn from the concealed world, what we don't see. Concealed from us. Therefore, Yeshlo, therefore Moses alone, because he was a totally different person than anyone else. He had the power, Lahamshich Ha'esav. Right? So the story you have about Superman coming from a different planet and all these people with their superpowers, everything that it's based on Moses. But his superpowers were not that he could do all sorts of amazing miracles, because in fact he couldn't do miracles. That wasn't his thing. The miracles that he did were what God told him to come into Paro, and God announced to Paro, to the Jewish people, and God did the miracles. God brought the 10 plagues. God was the one who split the sea. It wasn't the power of Moses, but Moses did have the power, which is even greater than to change the physical nature. He could change the spiritual nature of the Jews. He could teach them. He could arouse in the Jews an awareness of God. This is an impossible task. But Moses had the power, Lahamshich Ha'esav. He could draw down. We said before that Moses, he said he gave Esav, he gave the foliage to the animals. Who are the animals? All of the Jewish people are animals because they have no awareness of the closeness and reality of God. They're only aware of themselves. Maybe they can understand intellectually, they can believe in God, but to actually feel God like Moses did, the Jewish people don't. That's why they're called animals. In relation to God, they're called animals. Just like animals in this world are called animals in relation to people. And there's some people that can act like animals, right? But they're not animals. There's some animals that can act like people, but they're not people. Here we're saying that everyone in relation, all the Jewish people in relation to Moses were like animals. And we'll see that in fact Moses was even greater than that. He was because there are some Jews that are called tzaddikim. They are like seemingly have some connection to Moses, and Moses is totally above them also. That's why it says that Moshiach is going to make the tzaddikim do tshuva. In any case, Moses has the power to draw down this Esav to the Jewish people, this awareness of God. This awareness of God comes from the 288 sparks that fell from this world of Tohu that Moses came from. Liot Mazon, and Moses is able to inspire the Jewish people to elevate this confusion of the world. That's these sparks, to elevate this confusion in the world, and and this becomes then food for the Jewish souls. Hakalu b'shvil Yisrael. This is everything he does is for the sake of the Jews. Because the Jewish people are also called Eved Ivri. Ivri means from the other side. Aver Hanar. They're the Jewish people, the souls of the Jewish people come from the other side of the river. We're just repeating what we've learned just in the last 4 days, but he's saying it in just a little bit different order. The Jewish people are also called Ivri, Hebrew. The word Hebrew comes from the word Ivri. Ivri means from the other side. The Jewish people are from the other side of comprehension, of understandings, above understanding. This comes from Aden. This is from the level of Aden, where the river came out from Aden. The river is understanding. And the Jewish people come out from the other side of this river. They come out from this level of Aden, which that, by the way, is going to be the source of the raising of the dead, is this level of Aden. The Jewish people, they come from this level which is called Chachma, which is above Bina, understanding. They come from the other side of this river, which the river is the river of understanding, which waters the garden. Gan is the numerical value 53. That's the 53 orders of the Torah. Different aspects of the Torah, the Mishnayos and the Gemoras and etc. And the different chapters of the Torah. Generally speaking, it means that the different chapters in the 5 books of Moses, but there's other explanations. And there's the whole entire Torah. The Aver Anar, that the Jewish people come from the other side of this river of understanding. This is the Makif, this is the surrounding level, which is above Ishtar. So it's a little bit Kabbalistic, but we went over all these ideas. The Jewish people, then, they come from a level which is higher than, which surrounds and encompasses all definitions of up and down. So Moses, therefore, he comes from this level, which is the essence of the Jews. Moses is the essence point of every Jew, which is totally above understanding, which the Jews don't realize. And Moses draws down to this that makes even the greatest Jews and the most simple Jews equal. Kamosha Katur, something like a round circle, or the earth. She'ein lo mailo mata. The earth has no up and down. Vadorim bo milamaila ulamata, v'lo shayach lomer she'adorim milamata holchim barosham lamata. The people who live in the South Pole, they walk upright, and the people who live on the North Pole, they also walk upright. The people who live on the South Pole, it's not that they feel that they're walking upside down. Why? Because that's the true idea of a circle, that there's no up and there's no down. That's the level of Bechinas Igulim. This is the Kabbalistic level, which is called Igulim, surrounding level. In other words, another way of saying God before he created the world. By God creating the world, the highest levels and the lowest levels, the biggest angels, the highest spiritual levels, and the lowest physical levels, stones, rocks, sins, everything is equal by God. They're all just creations. But Davka Ba'or Yashar, only in this type of light, which is called not the surrounding light, but it's called the straight light of God. And that's what's called inside and outside. Then there's a difference between up and down. Like, for instance, the three, the top is the brain, and there's the 3 chambers of the brain, of the skull. But that's not where Moses comes from. That's all part of the creation. Moses comes from the Creator. That's this level of Igulim, surrounding, Soviv Kol Olmim. Moses comes from a level which is above, beyond, is a better word, beyond any divisions of up and down, sinners, the righteous, good people, bad people. This is just pure will of God. Pure will of God. That you do what God wants. From this comes also what's called self-sacrifice. The Jews, like Abraham, was willing to sacrifice his life in order to serve God. What was the point of that? He wouldn't have been able to do anything. But the answer is that this is a level which is above understanding. You're doing what God wants and putting yourself in God's hands. And that's what Moses brought down to all the Jewish people. Because the Jewish people are called Ivrim, because the Jewish people, they all come from the other side of the river, the other side of understanding. They come from this level, which is called the surrounding level. And therefore, Nimshach, Moses has the ability to draw into them this level of Esav, which we said before was ayin based, one of the names of God, and the Shin also represents an aspect of God. Because Shamakom Gavoa Davka, Hu Sheyored Lamakom Nomo. Because the Jewish people have this ability and source of the Jewish people is above, it's beyond, it encompasses anything which is high or low. So therefore, Moses has the ability to wake this up in them and draw down into them this level which wakes up the fact that they surround all the entire creation just like God does. That's what it means they're sons of God. Therefore, the angels sing songs. And the angels, they feel far away from God. And they sing songs. They say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. That was last week's Torah portion in the vision of Isaiah, the Haftorah. The Kedushata da me'ilatata. This is why did they say 3 times holy, holy, holy? Because this represents the 3 different levels, higher and they're on low level, and they jump up to a higher level, and then they realize there's above them, and there's above that. That was, and they can draw down godliness from above to below the angels. That's what they say. The kedusha tada, but this holiness of the Jewish people, me'ele v'tata kachara, highest and lowest is just the same. Why? Because the Jewish people, they rose up in God's thought. The angels come from God's speech. The Jewish people come from what's called God's thought. Lamaylam yamalachim, above the angels. She'ein bechinas dibur, the angels come from God's speech. She'ein kelim chitzonim, they're what's called external vessels, external creations in the world of Yetzirah. And then there's other angels which are called, they're in the world of Bria. Nevertheless, they're in the aspect which is called Yetzirah of Bria. Shama Shech, the Bria. Shama Shechosher Hu Medaber. This is what, like, Bria is like the world of thought, but this is already the aspect of speech in thought. Therefore, the Jewish people, they are able to be in a body. The Jewish people, they have souls in bodies. The soul of the Jewish people, we say, is the essence of the Jewish soul encompasses this idea of up and down. It comes from the Creator himself. Therefore, the souls of the Jews, because it has this point of surrounding all levels, it's able to be in the lowest places as well in a body, which is not the case. The angels, they complain, and God put them in a body. And what happens? Naflu lamata. It says the angels did terrible sins. They were in their bodies. They had this terrible, tremendous powers. It said that was one of the reasons for the flood. It says why God made the flood. But the neshama, but the Jewish soul, even though that the soul is in the body, nevertheless, zocheret et Hashem, it can remember God. But when the Jewish souls, which encompass totally the spiritual and the physical, which are from over on the other side of all comprehension, that's why they're called ivri. But when the souls get put into bodies, then the Jewish souls, they lose some of their holiness. Then they're called Yaakov. It says Yisrael rose up in God's thought. That's the essence of the Jewish people. But Yaakov, that's how God puts the soul into the body, that it has to deal with and fight with the problems and challenges of the world, like Yaakov fought with Esau. That's the 2 levels of Yaakov and Yisrael. This is the lowest level. This is the angels are in the world of Yetzirah and Bria. Those are spiritual levels. But the Jewish people were put down into the world of Asiya, physical. The Jewish people are not like the angels. That this world of what's called the world of action, this is a totally different world. This is not like the angels which come from God's speech. So it means the Jewish people, they come from God's thought, but that's this aspect of Yisrael. The angels, they come from God's speech. But the Jews, as they are in the world, they come from God's action. This is even lower than speech, lower than the angels. Shemalbis is the machshava, that God puts his thought, and there's the essence of the Jewish soul, shebashah shemedaber, that into speech, and even lower into action. In a time when a person speaks, as then he's not able to think. Bilti mashu medaber, except for what he's talking about. A person that speaks, says things that he's not thinking about, he speaks incoherently. Masha Enkin, which is not the case, the world of Asiya. In the world of Asiya, in this physical world, the Jewish people have the ability to do, but at the same time be connected to their thought, the thought of God. Machshava, Dibur, this is what's called the world of Bria and Yetzirah. The Jewish people, let's say they come from Bria, that's thought. And Yetzirah, that's the world of the angels. These are all garments that from them come souls. But really, the bodies, physical bodies, which we said before, the body is higher than the soul in its source. The bodies, they come from the world of Atzilut, like the power of seeing. A person sees, where is that? Physical things. The power of seeing is the highest power, higher than hearing. And seeing grasps physical things. Hearing is already spiritual, that's already words. Therefore, the Kedusha, therefore the Jewish people, because they come from what's called God's thought, therefore in the world of holiness, Ila Vatata, up and down are one. Because the Jewish people, they are above and below, they are above, they rose up in God's thought. But on the other hand, they were the last things to be created. Adam was the last thing to be created in the world. Adam, for all practical purposes, was supposed to be a Jew. His whole life was just to be being aware of God and serving God and fixing the world. That's why God put him in the world. So the highest came down into the lowest. That's the Jewish people. But the Jewish people are the highest and the lowest. And in the middle, betocham, in the middle are the angels. The angels, so the Jewish people come from God's thought and God's deed. And in the middle are the angels. Shehem Mutzayim, that they are the middle. That's why in our prayers, before we say Shema, we talk about the angels, because that's like the ladder that Jacob saw. Jacob is the Jewish soul, how he isn't clothed in the physical world, we said, in action. And he saw the ladder, he saw angels. Angels going up. Angels are like God's speech. And they went up to God's thought. That's the source of the Jewish soul. That's Yisrael. That's what gave Yaakov the ability to fight with the angel, and his name became changed to Israel. That's revealing the essence. So Moses, he's above this whole entire business. And Moses, therefore, has the ability to draw down into Yaakov, the Jewish people as they are here, the fact that they are really Yisrael, that they are above the angels. That's why the angels say, so the angels are the connection between the essence of the Jewish soul, which is called Yisrael, and the Jewish soul, how it's in the body, which is called Yaakov. That's why the angels say 3 times, Kodesh, 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 Kodesh. This refers to 3 times, El Shaddai, El Adonai, and El Havaya. This is already Kabbalistic. You have to figure out the gematries of all these things. It'll come out to be 3 times Kodesh. El, this name of God, which is called El, really we say Kale, but this is when we say the essence of the Jewish soul, that's Yisra El. El, this is Lamed Aleph, backwards. Lamed Aleph 41, Kotzi Desari, tips of the hairs of what it says about the Nazir. It says Godel Kodosh Pera Sar Rosho. It says that the Nazir is holy and he grows the hairs of his head. These are the 410 hairs. Kuli. And all of them come from the 3 chambers of God's brain, which is called of Erech Anpin. Okay, what all these Kabbalistic levels, whatever it is, we're talking about how the Jewish people are higher than the angels. And the angels, through the Jewish people, can be drawn holiness into the angels and through the angels down into the physical world. But nevertheless, who is the one that activates the Jews in the first place to do all this? Calls them as Moshe. All of this comes from Moses. Da'at penimiyut amidot, which is Moses is the connection of the inner emotions, the inner consciousness and awareness of the Jews to the essence of God. That's why when God called to Abraham, he said, Avram, Avram, and there was, if you look in the Torah, there's a little line between them. But Moses, in the book of the Torah, to Moses, when God says Moshe, Moshe, God called to Moses by the burning bush, Los Pesik Taima, there was no, if you look in the punctuation, there's no line between the two words Moses. Why? Because Abraham, he was in the Abraham as he was in the world of Bria, and as he was in the world of Atzilut, which is the essence of the Jewish soul. It's like two different people. Sheba Bria, he's chachus. Then in Bria, it's a new thing to him, godliness. Like Abraham said, I am dirt and ashes. But in the world of Bria, godliness was new to him. It wiped out Abraham's personality. But Moses, how his soul was in the world of Atzilus, and how his world was in the world of Bria, how the world was above the creation. And in the creation, it's the same exact thing. Because Moses was the panemius, Moses was the inside of godliness physically in this world. V'hu b'chinas kav v'chut ha'or ein sof shebakol olamos. Moses was this level of the creative power of God in its source that creates the highest worlds and the lowest worlds. Everything is equal. And that's what it means that Moses came from the water, just like water surrounds everything that's inside of it. That's where Moses came from. And it says that by the Mashiach, that the world will be filled with the knowledge of God like water fills the ocean. And in the ocean, it happens to be, if you've ever learned a little bit of ocean, what's it called? Oceanography or something like that, which I learned about 10 minutes of it. There's huge mountains in the ocean, and there's tremendously deep valleys down there. But if you're on the top of the ocean, everything is equal. So the ocean makes the big mountains, which are like the big tzaddikim, the holy people, and the big valleys, which are the bigger sinners, and makes it all equal. And that's the idea of revealing God. When the biggest sinners see what God is, so they'll stop doing their sins, because the only reason they did sins was because they were stupid. They were crazy. And the biggest tzaddikim, when they see godliness, they'll see how far away they are from the essence of God. They're as far away as the biggest sinners. Everything is just a creation. So that'll make them also, so to speak, repent and change themselves. Everything will be equal. It says that's where Moses always was at. He was always at this level of the water that makes everything equal. And therefore Moses was above the angels, above above the world, above even at the essence of the Jewish people, the highest of the Jewish people. Moses was above the whole business. He was above the whole thing. But his job was to draw awareness of the essence of God into the Jews, and from the Jews into the whole world. And that's the whole idea of the Mashiach. Moses was just for the Jews, but Mashiach is going to do this. He's an extension of Moses. And that's what the big rabbis in every generation, that's what they do, but only to their individual people that follow them. Mashiach will do it to the whole entire world. That's what it means that the Jewish people, 6 years, it says you should work. When Moses activates the Jewish people, when he draws godliness down, what happens to the Jewish people? That makes them dynamic. That makes them alive. That makes them servants. That's what it says, 6 years you should serve. This is what we call oros avudim. This is what's called tanned hides, right? Like we said before, tanning hides doesn't just make them the color tan, right? Like you go out and get a suntan. It means making them pliable. Avoda means making yourself pliable, changing your nature. It says, first of all, you have to wash off the hides. Sha'olomina rechatza, rochatzotz, richutz, ulibun. First of all, you have to wash the hides off very, very well, scrub them. And then you can start to make them more pliable. Sheishanim, this is what is it? Why 6 years? 6 years, this refers to the 6,000 years of this creation. Like we said before, that we are put into the world in order to do good deeds and learn the Torah, and this makes garments for our soul. Like we said about Abraham, that Abraham, when he was about to die, he said he was bo b'yamim. He came in days. He had all of his days. These upper days were with him. Every day he filled with good deeds, and good deeds that we do in this world, if we do what God wants, that's infinite. That makes the world real. That makes the world more real than the spiritual world. It makes the world as real as God is. The Yakrivu Yemei David, it says that the days of David came close. Which days? These are the upper days. Zakayin Mare de Tiufta. Fortunate are those people who return to God. In other words, everything they do, all of their thought, speech, and action are always directed to the Creator who's creating them. That's what it means, returning. You're just returning the energy back to the God who's giving it to us all the time. It's not we return it and it stays there. God is constantly renewing his creation to us. L'chor, at first glance, hello, davar talib of mitzvahs, u'maisim tovim. This depends on good deeds. What does it mean that these days are the garments? The days are not the garments. The days are just opportunities to do the commandments. The commandments are the garments. But it says, it says, the soul of my master was bundled in the bundle of life. This, I think, is talking about Elisha, the prophet. It was bundled in the bundle of life. I have to look over and see. Just like an evan, a stone, which you put it into a slingshot. There used to be a sling. I don't know if you've ever seen it. They put it into a sling. The Arabs use it. They throw stones at the Jews. They put the stone into a little sort of a leather pouch that's in the middle of a big, long leather string. And one end of the string they tie to their finger, the other end they hold in their hand, and they swing this rock around, and then they let go of the thing they're holding in their hand, and it flings this stone far away. That's called a tzrur. Just like a tzrur that you throw it, instead of throwing it at something, you throw it up in the air. Katzrur even b'margima, like you tie up a stone in a slingshot. V'gam al yedei levushim. These are garments, shehem masach, that they cover yochel liros or over here. So it says, what does it mean? Every day becomes a garment, and every day gives an opportunity that, just like a slingshot, you put the stone in the sling and it shoots it far away. It says also the same thing. The life, what is put into the soul, what is put into the body, and lives in time. So the time itself becomes like the slingshot. The same thing also, another example is like if you put sunglasses on, that they can cover over. By means of this, you can see a very bright light, which you can't see without a veil. That's the same thing, the Torah and the commandments. The Torah and the commandments, they are above, they are pure light. And they can't be used as a to clothe the soul. It's pure light. The soul, the commandments have to come down below, just like sunglasses have to be, or garments or veils have to come down in order to be useful. They have to be physical. The same thing as the commandments, they have to come from above to below. The commandments themselves, they are above time, like the Jewish soul is above time. In order for them to come from up to be useful to the Jewish people, they have to come from above time into time. Therefore, the time is called garments. Of course, it's the commandments that we do in the time, but the commandments have to come into place and time. And that's the whole idea of time in this world. But the idea is is the commandments, and the Jewish soul should not remain below, trapped in time. Therefore, there has to be what's called ibud oros. They have to change the nature of these skins. You have to change the nature of your body, of your soul, of your animal soul, washing it, etc. And everything is by means of Moses. Who does all this washing? Who does all this purifying? Who even tells us that there is such a thing as purifying? Why not just leave things the way they are? Who says there's a purpose to all of this, right? Maybe just, just every moment is its own thing. That's all. There's no meaning. Says no, that's the whole purpose of Moses, to wake up the Jewish people, to inspire the Jewish people, to bring down this godliness into their comprehension from above the river, above understanding, into understanding, to wake up the essence of the Jewish souls, to wake up the essence of what the commandments are. It all has to be within time, right? People live a certain amount of time. It's very, very sad when a person's time comes up and he dies. Everything that enables us to be aware of why there is time and why there is a world and how to improve time and improve the world, that's by means of Moses. Moshe activates the Jewish people. Moshe is called Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd. Shehu Machal, he feeds and drinks, he gives the sheep, which is me and you, this food and drink, and he washes them and etc. Namely, how does Moses do it to us? He inspires us so that when we pray, that we wash ourselves, love and fear. But it says on the seventh year, you go free. What does it mean, free? This is talking about after the 6,000 years of this world. It says we're free without commandments. No more commandments. Really? Says the Rebbe, well, not exactly. Yeshman, some people say that in the raising of the dead, there won't be any more commandments. But the law is not so. There will be commandments. So why does it say that there will be free of the commandments? It says because the commandments that will be done in the raising of the dead will be a totally different way. Because there will be sacrifices, like in Yechezkel, it talks about the third temple. There will be sacrifices, there'll be a third temple, there'll be service, but it won't be like now. Therefore, the souls will go from level to level, higher and higher and higher. going up and coming down. Ella menucha l'chayolomim, but it will be in a way of peace and harmony, which is incomprehensible what will be in the future. We will be, so to speak, will be able to see how this physical world, that was real reality. The good deeds that we did, that was true godliness, truly infinite. It's not like this world will sort of dissolve and everybody will go up into heaven. We'll be basking in the rays of heaven. No, exactly the opposite. Heaven will come here. The souls will come back into the bodies. The physical world will be higher than the highest of heavens. That's the essence of Judaism. That's the essence of Moses. That's what only Mashiach will be able to do to the whole entire world. That's why we need Mashiach now. Now let's learn the Devar Malchut. Ay.